I saw a meme on Facebook, as I so often do, and it said, transporting migrants across the country to places they don't want to go to, this is trafficking. And it's abhorrent, blah, blah. And I responded with, are you talking about Joe Biden or Ron DeSantis? And the immediate response is, Joe Biden isn't doing this, which is amazing because these people don't read the news. I don't know how they get their information. I'm assuming it must be like, I don't know, CNN or MSNBC or something. But it's like, how did you miss this whole news cycle where the White House has been trafficking people? There's a big argument after Ron DeSantis sent migrants to Martha's Vineyard, and they said that they said it was trafficking. And then a bunch of liberals were like, well, it's not really trafficking because trafficking is when you're transporting people to exploit them for some reason. And that's like the official reason. And then we heard Nancy Pelosi come out and say, these farmers are complaining because they want these immigrants to pick their crops. Ah, so the Democrats are trafficking people because they want them to pick crops. At least that's what Nancy Pelosi said. Ron DeSantis did it because Martha's Vineyard is a sanctuary city. That Massachusetts says, come one, come all. Okay, if we don't have enough space in Texas or Florida, Martha's Vineyard it is. And then they tried coming out, Ron DeSantis is trafficking people. Well, enough hemming and hawing, my friends. Here's the news. Quote, they need to be sent back to their home country. Ron DeSantis tears into illegal alien looters who should not be in the U.S. at all after they were arrested for ransacking homes devastated by Hurricane Ian. There it is. Illegal immigrants looting people's houses. Come on. That's all I got to say is, come on, man. It's just ridiculous that we have to be dealing with any kind of illegal immigrant looting. Here's a sign. No trespassing looters shot. Here's another one. You loot, we shoot. Looters killed free. I don't want to see anybody killed. I don't want to see these horrifying stories, man. I don't want to see it. But there are looters. There are people who are looking to exploit those who have lost everything, whose lives have been upended by a once-in-a-lifetime storm. And some of these people don't even live in this country. They come here and then exploit and destroy. And it is Joe Biden and it is Democrats that are protecting this. The Daily Mail reports Florida Governor Ron DeSantis revealed Tuesday that 3 of the 4 looting suspects arrested in Lee County were in the U.S. illegally. The Republican executive made the revelation during a news conference in Fort Myers on Tuesday as he gave an update about the response to Hurricane Ian. DeSantis focused on law and order in Southwest Florida and drew a connection between that and his opposition to President Joe Biden's immigration policies. These are people that are foreigners. They're illegally in our country. But not only that, they try to loot and ransack in the aftermath of a natural disaster, DeSantis explained. I lived in Florida once. What was this? I think it was like through 2015. I think I lived in Florida throughout 2015. I think that's when it was. And I was in the Redlands, which is like 40 miles west-southwest of Miami. It is just north of, I think, Homestead was the area, and that's where they have one of these migrant detention centers. I was told a story by the locals. Some guy was taking a shower. You may have heard me tell this story. Taking a shower. When he hears a noise downstairs in his house, he's taking a shower upstairs. He puts his towel on. He walks down, and there are 2 dudes, and they go bang, bang, and kill him. 2 to the chest. Guy dies. The dudes who were ransacking the house got arrested. Turns out they were illegal immigrants. I think it's an important story. And I tell people, do you know why conservatives want guns and why they're upset with illegal immigration? I went to a Trump rally and they were honoring this woman, honoring her child. He had been killed by an illegal immigrant. We also have that story, I think it was San Francisco, where that woman was with her dad and the illegal immigrant, for no reason, just fired a gun. There are people who are simply saying, if they were not here, these things would not have happened. Now, there's still crime. Chicago has a bunch of U.S. citizens committing crimes and shooting things. I get it. But this is why people are upset about illegal immigration, because these are people who are breaking the laws of this country to enter this country. And many of these people, not all of them, but many of them are committing these crimes. How about those who are trying to enter the country, don't commit a crime in the process? You want to talk about why they want guns? Well, this dude out in Florida should have been armed. He heard a noise. He should have checked armed. He wasn't. But what's he supposed to do? See, here's the issue. I hear a noise in my living room. I'm in my bedroom. I hear a noise. Do I just mosey on out and then say, is there a burglar here to kill me? Or do I call the police and then say, officer, I heard a noise in my living room? They're going to be like, and? I don't know what it is. Or do I say, this may or may not be a threat. I'm not sure. Take my firearm, which I keep with me at all times, and then very carefully go and check my property? Unfortunately, that's reality. Do I want to carry a weapon around like this? No, but this is what life is. What if it was a bear? Yeah, I don't think I've got a weapon that can take on a bear. If a bear broke into my house and all I had was a handgun, probably not going to do me too well. Would want to back away slowly, but it's better than nothing. But that's the crazy reality. In the Democrat-run cities, they will let illegal immigrants, criminals come to your town. They will ransack. They will kill you. They will rob you. And they'll say, yeah, but it's not that they're illegal immigrants. No. Listen, you have an issue with people. Not all of them, like Trump said. I'm talking about these people, the looters. I'm not talking about the mom and her daughter or the dad who are trying to come here for a good life. I'm talking about the fact that there are very real criminals coming across the border, drug trafficking gangs, and they're coming to loot your homes. We should be allowed to defend ourselves. Why these men were allowed in? It's nightmarish. What's the point of these immigration rules, immigration laws? If they're going to be ignored, if California is going to create passages for people to come in. Quote, they should be prosecuted, but they need to be sent back to their home country. They should not be here at all. The 4 men were arrested on charges of burglary of an unoccupied structure during a state of emergency. The individuals aged between 20 and 33 were booked for ransacking devastated homes and businesses on Fort Myers Beach while they suffered in the wake of the raging torrent. All 4 looters were arrested on September 29th, but documents reveal they were released after posting $35,000 bonds each. Jeez. You know what, man? Our communities, it's just crazy. Look at this. Suspected looters. The oldest looting suspect is Omar Mejia Ortiz, 33, lives in Immokalee, meaning he traveled at least 50 miles to Fort Myers Beach to ransack the ruinous shops and homes. Valerie Celeste Salcido Mena, 26, made her way from Cape Coral, which is at least 40 minutes. The youngest 2 suspects were arrested for looting, seem to be related to Brandon Mauricio Araya, and they seem to be related, the 2 Araya brothers. The young men, both age 20, traveled from the same address before finding themselves booked in Lee County. All 4 suspects were booked for the same crime, burglary of an unoccupied structure during a state of emergency, and will face a hearing on October 31st at Lee County's Circuit Court. Lee County currently has a curfew and a zero tolerance policy against looting. There are people, believe it or not, who come here to exploit our goodwill and cause us harm. How do we find out who that is? I don't want to see children dying in the desert. I don't want to see moms and dads who are simply trying to escape violence and find a better life dying in the desert either. I got an idea. Hear me out. How about everybody comes here and goes to, they come to the border where they can apply for asylum and then wait, or they go to a consulate or embassy and say, here's my case. And then we try and background check and figure out who these people are and figure out the best case scenario for them. It's crazy, right? Like, what if people had to come to say there's like a checkpoint, like a guard, and they would take your information down and determine whether or not you are actually a refugee to make sure that these criminals who want to hurt us don't get in. What's that? We do that. Oh, and the criminals still get in. Whoa. Maybe we should set up some kind of barriers. Maybe we should create a process by which states can deport people. Maybe we should take this seriously. Someone who is willing to break the law to get in this country has a higher likelihood of being a criminal who will loot your home than someone just seeking asylum. Well, here we go, baby. From timcast.com. D.C. City Council committee approves bill allowing non-citizens to vote. Lawmakers considered racial equity assessment before passing the measure. There you go. I don't get it. I mean, we can come up with all the reasons in the world why Democrats are allowing this to happen. Choose your, take your pick. What's the reason? I think they're gutting and destroying this country. That's fairly obvious. Whether that's their intent, maybe they're just really dumb. But what's happening? Yeah, they're destroying the country. They say the Washington, D.C. City Council committee has just advanced a bill that would give non-U.S. citizens the right to vote. The measure was approved with a 12-1 vote on October 4th by the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety. The Local Resident Voting Rights Amendment Act of 2021 would amend a 1955 law to allow non-citizen permanent residents to vote in local elections. And so it begins. According to the bill, non-citizens should be able to vote in an election for mayor, city council, attorney general, state board of educator, or commissioner. No, they shouldn't. There is a reason why we have citizenship. It's not an arbitrary thing. These are not citizens of this country. Their allegiance is to a different country. Just because they live here doesn't mean they should be able to have any say in any of our elections. But this is the leak. You see, it starts with this. Legal permanent residents, they can vote. What are they going to vote for? They will continually vote for politicians and policy that will open the floodgates. And they want to bring their families in, right? They want to make it easier. Well, there you go. Should the bill pass, non-citizens will also be able to cast ballots for any initiative, referendum, recall, or charter referendum on a district ballot. So, they'll start passing laws saying sanctuary. Should the city arrest illegal immigrants? They'll say no. There you go. Now, to be fair, I think a lot of legal immigrants probably don't like illegal immigrants for a variety of reasons. They're going to say the bill is eminently supportable, except for one aspect about it. And I asked this question to the committee as a whole. Could someone who took the bus from Texas or was put on the bus from Texas or wherever and dropped off at the vice president's property and then remained in the District of Columbia for 30 days and was 18 years old, could that person then vote in our local elections? And the answer was yes. They are outright saying it will not just be permanent residents. They're saying it will be illegal immigrants. People who enter the country illegally. They can hide in an alleyway for 30 days, and now they're voting? It's insane. This country is being gutted. Hope y'all are paying attention. The Hill reported she voted against the bill, wanting a longer threshold for residency than the 30-day benchmark. After committee members advanced the bill, they issued a report recommending the full city council approve the law, citing in part racial equity. B240300 is the next step in the expansion of the franchise. The purpose of the bill is to expand voting rights in local elections to otherwise eligible residents of the district who are not U.S. citizens. Are you paying attention to what's happening? Look, I think we're doing really well in the culture war. That Bros movie bombed. Nobody wanted to see it. It's a wake-up call. Like, no beef to Billy Eichner for making a movie. I don't care about that. Like, congratulations. I'm just saying, wake-up call to the industries. This stuff does not make money. That's good news for us. But right now, there is still the legislative battle. And in Democrat-controlled cities, they are ripping apart everything. They also explained that the bill, as introduced, would have only expanded the right to vote to local permanent residents, and the committee amended the bill's provisions to include all non-citizen residents. And it does not distinguish between arbitrary immigration statuses. So here you go. You're a tourist on a 3-month visa. How about that? A tourist on a 3-month visa after 30 days in D.C. is a legal resident. They got to leave in 2 months, but they can vote to burn the whole place down. That is insane. You get elections coming up. Someone says, I got to go 1 month before the election so I can legally vote. And then non-citizens come in and they vote to destroy this country. The way I often explain it, imagine you live with 2 other roommates and y'all pitch in to the pizza party pool. Every week you put $5 in the jar between the 3 of you. By the end of the week, you got enough to get some beers and some pizzas and hang out. All right. You got, what is that going to come out to? About $60. You can get a couple pizzas and a 12-pack. One day, one of your roommates opens the door and some dude walks in and he starts eating your pizza. And you're like, hey, come on, guys. Like, we only have a couple pizzas. It's for the three of us. And like, it's just one guy. You know, he's just coming. Like, he's sharing a little bit. And you're like, okay, fine, whatever. Another guy comes in, starts taking the pizza. Okay, now you're getting a lot less. You ask them, are you guys going to pitch in or not? And they say, no, yeah, we'll pitch in. Then your roommate says, I think we should allow them to have a say in what kind of food we order. And you go, dude, they don't live here. I paid for this. I paid the deposit for the water bill. I paid the deposit for the electric bill. I paid to fix the locks. We all pitched in for this. These guys just showed up. I think they should be allowed. I think they should. And then your second roommate, the other roommate goes, yeah, I don't really care, man. It's fine by me. And then you're sitting there being like, dude, are you kidding? Now you've got 4 against 1. Used to be the 3 of you. Now there's 4 people. These 2 guys go, I think we should allow our families to come. And then you're like, no, you can't do that. And they're like, well, there's 2 of them and 1 of you. Like, how? They don't even live here. Why are they getting a say in who gets to come into my house? Well, you know, they've been here for a couple days. Like, they should get a vote. Do you see how insane that is? It scales. The left tries to act like this stuff doesn't scale. They're like, a country is not a house. Oikonomia, the word in Greek, that's where the word economy comes from. Oikonomia. Probably pronouncing it wrong, but it means household management. I learned that from my good friends over at the Juice Rap News. Hugo Ferrant, shout out. Oikonomia, household management. Yes, over a long enough period of time, with the expansion and scale, it is analogous. Our borders matter. There are a lot of libertarians that think borders are stupid. I had a conversation with one guy and he was like, you believe in borders? And I was like, yes. And he's like, you think there's an imaginary line? And like, for some reason, and I was like, yes. Calling it an imaginary line doesn't change the fact that it matters. You cannot have rules and laws and you can't have a functioning system without this demarcation. The border by which we say, when you're here in our house, you have to abide by the rules that we agree with. You and your other roommates all agree that you can't throw garbage on the floor. But one day, you have a bunch of friends come over and they throw garbage on the floor. And you tell them, guys, you can't do that. And they go, I vote you can. And you go, dude, what? You don't live here. Too bad. We vote we can. People keep sneaking in the house and throwing garbage on the floor. They don't care. They don't live there. I'll tell you one thing, man. Anybody who's ever managed a large building probably knows exactly what it's like trying to deal with this stuff. Let me just say, with the multiple facilities that we have for Timcast, it is crazy how often people just don't care. Leaving food out, leaving windows open with the AC on. And you know what it is? They don't live here. So people will be like, oh, yeah, I didn't think it was a big deal. And you're like, dude, we have to be here all the time. It costs money when you do these things. And then I'm supposed to be told that these people who enter the country illegally are going to be allowed to vote. These people that looted in Florida, they can go up to D.C. and they can vote. Now, how does that make sense? Well, this is why it's so important that y'all go out and vote, man. The midterms are about a month out. Ron DeSantis has an 11-point lead over Charlie Crist, according to FloridaPolitics.com. It's good news. It's good news. It's important news. Ron DeSantis is doing a great job. He's calling out the BS. He's calling out these looters, and he's calling out the rioters. So I look forward to seeing what happens. But I think we are facing dark days. We talk about the Strauss-Howe generational theory, the fourth turning. It's 4 years out should be the peak of chaos, whatever it ends up being. If it turns out to be true, maybe it won't be. I don't know. The fourth turning. 80 years ago was World War II. 80 years before that, it was a Civil War. 80 years before that, it was the Revolutionary War. But we did have a World War I. So we did have a very tumultuous period for like 20 years. Right now, things have been pretty good. So maybe Strauss-Howe generational theory isn't going to prove itself to be correct all the time. Or maybe it is here. I mean, we had the pandemic. We had the lockdowns, the authoritarianism around the world. Maybe. You got to wonder about what's going on, especially with nuclear war. Maybe the Strauss-Howe generational theory is predicting World War III. It will be 2024. Could be the start of World War III, followed by an armistice, and followed by World War IV. I got no idea, man. Can't see the future. What I do know is, as I've mentioned in the previous segment, we'll talk about it in a second, Ukraine is preparing evacuations because they think a nuclear strike may be coming. A nuclear strike. There's a lot of crazy news, my friends. Poland is now talking to NATO about deploying nuclear weapons to their territory. And holy... I hope you've gotten away from the cities. I hope you've taken the time to prepare for the potential worst case scenario. I don't know what it'll turn out to be, but I can tell you here at home, we're facing major crises. Looting, hurricanes, illegal immigration, crime skyrocketing, and internationally, we've got a government that is seemingly okay with World War III. And you get someone like Elon Musk coming out being like, guys, please, no, and they mock him. Yeah, we can't live like this, man. Something dark is coming. I think we'll be okay. Humans will make it out. And if you prepare for this, you'll be good. Chance favors the prepared. So pay attention to what's going on. It may be nothing. The war may just simmer down, or it may boil over. It's up to you to figure out what you think is going to happen and act appropriately. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.